Well, after big government colluded with big tech in silencing those with differing opinions regarding the pandemic and the magical vax,
That is true!
it went to the Supreme Court.
Uh-oh.
Scotus, your thoughts? Well, it kind of lacks standing here.
What the fuck?
Even though you have evidence, eyewitness accounts, and testimony, but
That is also true!
who cares about facts? It's all about feelings. Fuck! I'm Jasper Gonzo, and this.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
And it's what's next. What's up, everyone? Jasper Gonzo, what's next? Your daily dose, common sense, facts, and salt. Hope you guys are feeling good today. Of course, this is the weekend edition. Free speech. Those here of us in America take it for granted. The things we say, the things we do. Of course, you talk about the First Amendment. You talk about free speech, expression, what have you. Second Amendment, what have you. But for those who seemed, it got past them, it might have just gotten past you that there was a case that went to the Supreme Court in regards to free speech. What could it be regarding to? Well, it regards to social media. Remember, let's take a trip in the way back. Remember way back, 2020, when those of us who had, differing opinions, we had questions about the pandemic, and then later on the efficacy of the magical vax, we're told to sit down and shut the fuck up by media. You were canceled. You were demonetized. Your videos were struck down. Your jobs were on the line. All that wonderful freedom of speech. Well, it went to the Supreme Court. Finally, 4 years later, went to the Supreme Court with evidence, eyewitness testimony, eyewitness accounts, facts. But Supreme Court had a different idea. They were like, yeah, well, there's a thing called standing, and you just didn't have it. What? And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. Supreme Court dismisses a social media censorship case for lack of standing, quote unquote. Alito issues blistering dissent. Washington. Social media companies like Facebook are free to continue censoring conservatives according to a divided Supreme Court over a vigorous conservative dissent. It was ruled a 6-3 margin. During the 2020 election season and the COVID pandemic, social media platforms frequently removed, demoted, fact-checked posts containing allegedly false or misleading information, disinformation. Justice Amy Coney Barrett began for the majority. At the same time, federal officials concerned about the spread of misinformation on social media communicated extensively with the platforms about their content moderation efforts. Basically saying, how dare you question the coup? How dare you question that it's a pandemic? You must be canceled. Barrett recounted the facts of various officials from the White House, Centers for Disease Control Prevention, CDC, Surgeon General, the FBI, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, the CISA. Yeah, you don't hear about them much. Though the platforms restricted the plaintiff's content, the plaintiffs maintained that the federal government was behind it, Barrett explained, acting on the belief that the plaintiffs sued dozens of executive branch officials and agencies, alleging that they pressured the platforms to censor the plaintiffs' speech in violation of their First Amendment, which is protected by the Constitution. We begin and end with standing, she declared. At this stage, neither the individual nor the state plaintiffs have established any, quote, standing to seek an injunction against any defendant. We therefore lack jurisdiction to reach the merits of the dispute. A lot of gobbledygook, basically saying, yeah, we don't give a fuck. Violation of the First Amendment, it is. And we'll talk about Miss Amy Coney Barrett and her freedom of speech and how it was censored, sort of, in my thoughts. The majority held that the plaintiffs failed to show that they had suffered legal injuries that were traceable to Facebook and other companies formerly of Twitter, Of course, this was pre-Elon, that resulted in Biden administration coercing and a court could fix by issuing an order. They literally were in bed with big tech. But who cares about facts? Quote, the plaintiffs, without any concrete link between injuries and defendants' conduct, ask us to conduct a review of the years-long communication between dozens of federal officials across different agencies, the different social media platforms, about different topics, the majority concluded. The court's standing doctrine prevents us from exercising such general legal oversight of the other branches of government. Conservative Justice Samuel Alito wrote a blistering dissenting opinion, joined by fellow conservative Clarence Thomas and also Neil Gorsuch, who is libertarian. Quote, victims of the campaign perceived by the lower courts brought on this action ensure that the government did not continue to coerce social media platforms to suppress speech, Alito began. All these victims simply wanted to speak out on a question of the utmost and public importance. If the lower court assessment of the volume of record is correct, this is one of the most important free speech cases to reach the court in years, Alito declared. Freedom of speech serves as many valuable purposes, but its most important role is the protection of speech that is essential to a democratic self-government republic, speech that advances humanity's store of knowledge, thought, and expression in fields such as science, medicine, history, social sciences, philosophy, and the arts. Our country's response to the pandemic was and remains a matter of enormous medical, social, political, geopolitical, economic importance, and our dedication to a free marketplace of ideas demands that dissenting views, differing opinions on such matters be allowed, he announced. I assume that a fair portion of what social media users had to say about the coup and the pandemic was a little lasting value. Some of the undoubtedly untrue or misleading, and some of may have been downright dangerous, Alito noted. Yes, some, not all, some. But we now know the valuable speech was also suppressed. This is what inevitably happens when entry to the marketplace of ideas is restricted. Of course, purely private entities like newspapers are not subject to the First Amendment. As a result, they may publish or decline publish whatever they wish, he acknowledged. But government officials may not coerce private entities into suppressing speech. That is what happened in this case. The judges that decided against this, Chief Justice Roberts, didn't like a decision politically that he didn't like, because every decision that he makes is strictly political and not based on rule of law. Then you have Kavanaugh and Barrett. Kavanaugh seems to forget that there were those who were banging down the Supreme Court doors in so much hatred of him because of so-called that he was a rapee, 40 plus years ago by someone who couldn't give eyewitness testimony, couldn't produce witnesses, couldn't produce evidence, couldn't produce anything, but yet just on her say, the whole Me Too thing. Yes, remember that? Kavanaugh, was called everything under the book minus Hitler and Satan. And yet, he made it to the Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett, who, because of her Catholicism, was declared unfit to be on the court. And that's Maxine Waters and other Democrat knuckleheads who should have been told to shut the f up. But no, they kept on chirping off, saying that Coney Barrett, because of her religion, could not make, clear and decisive decisions on the court. But yet, she made it to the court. Trump stood by the both of them. And they forget free speech almost cost them both their positions on the court. And they decide this way. Wow. We're not going to see the immediate effects of this now. This is going to be long lasting, because now it still basically says, hey, government, you can sleep with big tech all day long, twice on weekends, butt slamming each other all day. And if somebody says something they don't like, well, we just need to tell them to shut the f up or be demonetized, censored in every way, shape, or form. But the difference is this time, you do have someone like X, i.e. Elon Musk, who has basically said time and time again, yeah, you can pretty much say what you want. My platform is going to allow it. So at least we have that. It's lack of standing. Even though you had one Dr. Bhattacharya, who was part of the case, testify, in documentation that he was a victim of this, first-hand victim of this. But who cares? Again, who gives up about facts? It's all about how you felt that day. And the court felt, well, government's going to do what it's going to do. It is what it is. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please have a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. Hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue spreading the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see you next time. Peace.